Okay, let's give this another try. So this is an example of where I took a shortcut um, and we created this table called Fuse Tool, and it lists the individual procedures, which are called tools when you're working with AI. And I created a tool group. Like I'll group these together, and that way I can refer to a tool group, and it'll load all the tools in that group. And as I began to now build the interface, I do what happens normally is I need to go back to a better relational design. I don't know how key stores you really manage this kind of stuff because I can't get away from it for your value key databases. So what we're going to do, we do have a Copilot running. We're going to do our drop table. So I drop all tables to begin with while we're doing development. And we're going to call this tool group. Why not Fuse tool group? Because that's too long. And so why tool instead of Fuse tool? Because tool is too short and not descriptive enough. Okay, so it already kind of knows what it wants to do, so I'm just going to let it do it. And add a slash there. So if not, this table gives tool group. We're going to do a tool group ID, tool group name. Yep. It can't be null and created. So basically, it stubbed it out, added a primary key for me. This is all using my the code that is in the arcsql.sql file. It's a generic file with a bunch of cool stuff in it. So this is good, and of course we're going to need a foreign key. So now we're going to turn tool group into tool group ID, and let's see if it can figure this out. If not, does constraint exist? And we're going to call this, what are we going to call this? FK fuse tool group ID, sure. Alter table fuse tool add constraint. FKU tool group ID, foreign key tool group ID. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So a lot of times programming with AI is just doing what you normally do. It's looking at my code, knows how I do things, and for the most part, a lot of this stuff is done. It's kind of redundant. You're always doing the same thing over and over, just different ways. Your paradigm for development is often, once you've kind of done it for years, it doesn't change a lot. Okay. So we got the foreign key, and now we're going to need to go, we're going to put tool group ID. A tool group ID fuse tool has to be not null. Function description, so we want a description up here, right? So we're just going to call this description, and that can be null. We could do tool group describe. My rule there is like in code, how often am I really going to be referring like object name dot description? Not often. Where if I just do group name, I probably might have other things that have group name in them. So it'd be like x dot group name or t dot group name or something like that. You're like, what group name am I? So t dot tool group name is a little clear. X dot description, t dot description, probably not going to be actually pulling that. You're usually looking at the ID and the name. So when I'm naming columns, just so that I can make my code more readable, I won't add tool group to every single object, but I'll add it to the ones that I'm going to be, like you wouldn't want to just use ID in every table, because in your code, you're going to see ID all over the place. And unless you're now being more descriptive on the object dot, ID, which you're not always doing that. At least I don't do it. So I guess you could do it the other way. It's really maybe a matter of preference. So, okay, so we got tool group rambling here. Let's see. So now what we need to do is we need to go back over to our code base here, and so for user we can add tool group, and that is going to be tool group name. I'm not going to change that right now, but it's now that we have an ID and a name, it's a little unclear. Okay, let's just do it. We're going to do, this is going to be tool group name. So when you are calling the user call. I'm going to say that we should never just use a tool group should always be associated with a session. It's like an agent or what have you, and not a user. So we're going to get rid of that from there. One of the things I'll probably end up doing is doing too much here and breaking things. So we're going to get rid of tool group from user. Let's go take care of that now. So we're going to get rid of tool group. And that means we need to get it out of the session prompt table, don't we? Mm-hmm. So definitely going to be doing a little work to fix these things. Okay, so we're going to add a tool. We're going to add the tool. So we're going to make the tool group name needs to be unique. So let's go ahead and put yeah, we already have so we have a unique index on tool group. Hey, it knew to do that. Yeah, I want a unique index on this because I don't want to, I want to know that when you refer to a group name, you are referring to a unique tool group. So if this was to ever become, this camera turns me like this color to that color. Need to figure that out. Do you want to do that? That's weird. If you're ever going to open this up to, say, a SaaS-based website that did a lot of this stuff, then obviously you could have customers that want to name two sets of tools, my Oracle tool group. So to allow that, you're usually going to have an internal and an external name, maybe. I'm not sure, but those are the kind of things that you could start thinking about now. But now you start making your design more complicated, and don't want to do that, so we're not gonna think about that. So tool group name is unique, and so let's just let's find all these and change them to tool group name. So this would be tool group ID when we're adding that, and p tool group ID, and what we need to do is get the tool group ID based on the name. A lot of times I'll just write the code here and maybe later abstract it away into a function. So we're just going to say v tool group ID number, and watch this, we'll write this. Select, what is it? Tool group ID into, and I just stop there. Let AI think about it. V tool group ID from fuse tool group where tool group name equals p tool group name. Cool. And that's case sensitive. We're not going to worry about that. Apply a little bit of formatting, a little spacing for readability. And we get our v tool group ID, and we're going to put that right there. So now when we add a tool, this will bomb and throw an error. You know, maybe now's a good time to add an exception handler for debugging, make it a little easier. See what it comes up with. Raise application, add tool, yep. We'll go with that. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're not, I guess we need to add tool group. Because we need to add that description. The only reason we need to Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Procedure, add tool group. Okay, what are we doing here? And that's wrong. And begin and insert to the tool group. Okay, so that's like most basic. Of course, we want a description. So a lot of times I'm using description as PDSC. But we are actually updating description, which can get kind of confusing. But DESC is descending also, so we wouldn't use that as a column name. Okay, and then we need a header for this. Probably need to fix that. Okay, so now we have add tool group and add tool. And probably this is not going to compile the first time I run it. Okay, so now go back and just kind of look at our references to tool group and see if everything's making sense. So we have a table tool group ID, tool group name. We have a unique index on tool group name. Oh, I know. If we actually had a SaaS business, we would have like the customer name in here, and tool group name would need to be unique with customer name. But then you may have a customer might be across. Like then you get into the issue of the tool group is shared across all the people using the software for the company. And then they may want groups within their company. So you can see when you start developing a SaaS business, just how complicated things can get because of all the things that people are going to want. So let's not go down that road. Just think about it later. Another thing you can do with Oracle, though, is you can split these. You can use virtual private views and things like that, which are also a cool solution that I haven't really thought about, but how it would apply to a SaaS solution in which you've got multiple customers, multiple users for each customer. You may have people who have with some SaaS businesses. I have my own personal account, say Asana, but I also have accounts associated with the same maybe email with other people. So you got all that user management, permission, very complicated. That's where I want to try to leverage whatever's built into Oracle for a lot of that. Virtual private views, grants, roles, access to objects, things like that is what I'm going to, when I start thinking about permissions and how would this be used in the enterprise so that you can deploy this into a database and then allow developers and Oracle DBAs to use it and potentially grant access to end users, business users, power users, things like that. Like how do you limit how many calls can they make? What's the maximum amount of spend? What models do they have access to, and things like that. I'm not going to try to overbuild it in here. I'm going to try to use native Oracle security for that when I get there. Okay. Well, anyway. So do we add a foreign key? Yep. Okay. I'm going to go try to build this, and I know it's not going to work. And oh, we need a comment on the table. Comment on table. No, this would be tool group. Tool group. See what it comes up with. Each row represents a group of tools. Yes. Tool, use tools. Okay. So another reason I'm doing this is I want to be able to when you create a session to register that you want to use more than one group of tools, so that a session doesn't only have to use one group of tools. It could be, Oracle tools plus maybe web search tools, what have you, and so you've got a many to one or one to many relationship there that I need to be able to represent. So. So anyway, this is just an example of where I started out trying to do it the quick way, and almost always I end up going and getting this way. And eventually it'll change so that it supports potentially duplicate tool group names, or at least has like an internal group name. One solution you can use is like you have an internal group name that's unique, and the user doesn't actually see that. What you do is you take their group name and then you append whatever other information like their customer ID and user ID or whatever that makes it unique. You can do that and then keep that external group name, which can be a duplicate, which is what they see when they put in. That's one way, and you still always have a unique ID for every group. So that's one way to handle that. The other way, as I said, is you put in like username and then a combination of user and tool group, or you could have user and customer and have various uniqueness within that. So anyway, or then you can also do a type. So you could also have is this tool group a customer tool group, a user tool group, or even like a delivered tool group. You can do delivered default tool groups, and you can deliver default tool groups that each customer gets a unique version of that. So there's just so many ways to go. Anyway, those are kinds of things you've got to think about when you're building something.